Society?
Strangers. Strangers in society.
Strangers on the internet?
The secret.
Strangers.
Society, oh, welcome, stranger.
Secret to society.
Welcome back to the Secret Society of Strangers podcast. I'm Lee. I'm here with Jen and Josh.
What do you do?
Hello.
We have a special episode.
Spooky.
Just in time for spooky season. We are going to start covering some of the more classic monsters, like Dracula, for instance, that we'll be covering today. Vampires, werewolves, mummies. So look forward to that after this. Before we get into anything, if you guys like what we've been doing, if you guys are interested in being a guest, you can email us at SSOSpodcast@gmail.com. Please subscribe. You guys ready to get into this?
Absolutely.
Nice. All right. So to get into vampires first, we got to start like at the beginning in the way back. Like these myths have gone back through humanity forever, like biblical forever. And they weren't always these suave, romantic, lead role vampires. They kind of started out more as like the dead, bloated, reanimated corpse type. But central to all of those vampires is blood. It symbolized life. It symbolized death. Back in ancient times, people would bloodlet if you were sick. They would hook leeches up to you and suck your blood out and say, hey, you'll be better, don't worry about it. We're not going to replace it, don't worry about it. Going back all the way to like ancient Mesopotamia, there was a demon goddess called Lamassu. So she was known for terrorizing pregnant women and stealing their babies. She was involved with like Pazuzu, and she was the daughter of Anu, I think. We've actually talked about him before.
Yeah, we did in our Giants episode, or Anunnaki episode, I think.
Nice, yeah. So these early myths, like I said, they weren't seductive. They weren't, fancy. They really were drawn from a place of fear and lack of knowledge in a lot of the situations, like ancient science and religious beliefs mixed in with pseudosciences.
Right, and they were also like more about disease and famine and all the other terrible things people didn't really understand also.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it was just a different time back then. And
yeah, it didn't occur to them to, dig up corpses just to see how they were decomposing.
or wash their hands.
Right. So that would have been a bit advanced.
Yeah,
right.
I learned something new about, it was the Mayans.
Mhm.
They might have had like actual running water in their toilets with the way they like gathered rainwater and
Oh, like
pitched,
they had like a little aqueduct type deal.
Yeah.
and like pitched their like central field things, or like 1 degree pitched, and it would fill up their aquifers, and like they had like streams and stuff. So like they were cleaner than these Europeans.
By far.
Yeah.
Why am I not surprised?
Yeah,
At least they thought of it, of even.
Right?
like not just like out the window.
Or here I am.
Right.
Right here. Gotta go.
So, yeah, I could. It's like Gangs in New York. I was
Oh,
thinking
yeah.
about like just
Yeah.
everything is happening
What
right
does
in
thou
front
look
of you.
upon? Have not thou seen a man
Oh.
do thy business?
We go from ancient Mesopotamia into the more medieval vampire that starts to resemble a little bit more of that stalking monster that is like more intelligent a little bit, possibly. So entire communities would fall ill, and places like Austria and Prussia, they would have like whole communities turning around and being like, it's a vampire. there's a vampire, like one person in this town is a vampire and they're killing all these people. So they would resort to like crazy tactics to like suss out vampires.
Right. Like these people also, like, they believe that if you didn't really properly handle a corpse, that it could raise from the grave and just start eating on the living. So I mean, it just sounds very zombie-esque, not really vampire.
Yeah, it really does start like a modern day version of like our reanimated zombies. But they would do crazy stuff like bury people face down. So if they woke up, they would go down instead of up. Like, I think that's pretty fucking weird and crazy. Like, because if you did actually wake up and have a chance, now you're facing the wrong way.
That'd be so fucking crazy.
Yeah.
It's also crazy that they like used to bury people with like ropes and bells because like so many people were getting buried alive.
Yeah,
so many patents for that, for different systems. Yeah,
that's where Saved by the Bell comes from.
Yep.
Yeah,
that's like there was people that would just their job was just to wait in the cemetery and be like, "Oh shit, this guy's not dead. Grab a shovel."
Oh crap!
I can't even say that without laughing. It's absurd.
It's not even just a coming of age sitcom.
Yeah.
No.
It's literally saving somebody's life.
It's like morbid.
But you gotta think too, like, you know, being in that time when you just start to see just your entire family, your neighbors, I mean, your whole village dying one after another, and you have no real medical science, you know, no offense to bloodletting, but probably caused like many more deaths from, you know, sepsis, from the cuts that they would do and all this
and
stuff.
The tools they would probably use.
Yeah.
Sterilize or clean.
But you gotta, you know, kind of see where these things started to come into play. You know, why they had to try and find some reason, just the human side of you to figure out, like, why is this happening?
Yep. And we know back then towns and the regular folk really weren't wealthy. And so that usually meant that there was a wealthy class somewhere that probably wasn't too close, or one wealthy person like a count or a duke that lived up far away up on a hill somewhere, and no one ever saw him, and everyone's dying and everyone seems like this guy's fine, but technically he's just, you know, 6 feet and not getting sick. So it turns into like, you know, the count, he only comes out at night, no one ever sees him, you know. And it starts, here's the lore that, you know, it's this mysterious guy up on a hill that's separated from the town, or just the like village loner, that, you know, the outsider, the interloper. Which kind of brings us right to the next stage of vampirism, where we really start to get into what we know as vampires, and we reference a lot when we talk about the origin of vampires. So figures like Vlad the Impaler and our friend Elizabeth Bathory. Yeah, check that episode out too. That was a bloody mess. So yeah, Vlad the Impaler, everyone is pretty familiar with him, but not everyone's really familiar with like the real Vlad the Impaler. He wasn't necessarily drinking people's blood and, you know, actually a vampire. He was more of just like a brutal ruler that had no remorse and would leave you on a spike just to die for days and the birds to eat you. And, you know, so
yeah, because you're just slowly sliding on that stake. Oh man, you're literally killing yourself with your own body weight.
And so imagine that, like, visually to the townsfolk.
Field of people.
Yeah, is like, oh God.
Do you like imagine so many screaming, like all the screams?
I don't even want to think about that. Like,
that's so wild.
The one thing that I think gets overlooked in stuff like this, and not to be super gross, but the smell of what like medieval times, just on a daily basis, the assault on your senses you would get, and then to think about like hundreds of rotting bodies in the sun, and it's just
it's just
I always think about that for whatever reason. I think it's because I was in the animal field for so long. and you just know. I see it, and I'm like, I know that smells bad.
Yeah. And then bringing on more disease.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So they're not like
all that shit.
Yep. So they're not removing these bodies. Everything's piling up. There's no way around being sick, basically, if you're a peasant or a merchant or
Yeah.
not a royal person or wealthy.
I mean, shoot, you get a cut back in that time, and you might as well just die. Like, you're already dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. In a lot of ways, that's like really like, it sounds really stupid, but that's really like true. Like if you get like a bad cut,
Yeah.
like,
I was
just roll the dice, bro.
Yeah.
I mean,
Either go ahead
really.
and chop it off, or go ahead and just get in this coffin.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was, but I was watching or listening to a podcast. I think it was during the Tudors. It wasn't a queen or anything, but it was someone of nobility. But they died from pricking their finger with a sewing needle.
Jesus
That's
Christ.
literally then
so-
sepsis and took
Yeah.
over, the whole body. I
you
mean,
think-
so when when we say that, it's the truth. That's
Mhm.
literally how simple and easy it is to die during
Yeah.
these times.
And that's exactly how these people, like those myths start. They have like, that's
Mhm.
terrifying. And then
Mhm.
like, you don't really see a physical
Right.
decline in your person until like, they're not eating or they're vomiting blood or, all of a sudden they're not waking up and they're like in a coma.
Right.
And you're just like, vampire? Yeah.
Right.
Sounds good.
I mean,
Yeah, it makes
especially
sense.
I mean
Definitely.
tuberculosis. I mean, if they're actually, and a lot of other disease, that can
Yeah.
cause them to start coughing up blood. I mean, that'd be terrifying.
Mm.
And then it goes, they don't realize, but it's just, running rampant through a family. And one
Yeah.
by one, you're sitting there waiting, wondering if you're going to be next.
Yeah,
Or
you say
the
family.
people
You
that
think,
are just very anemic and like are just very
Mm-hmm.
sensitive to sunlight. I can't remember what that disease is called, but it's pretty much just vampirism. Like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or you just have like an autoimmune.
mm,
Like, okay, what do you do now? Where you're just like, what if you were genuinely allergic to garlic?
Oh, yeah. Like,
so
Like,
bad.
And then, like, that's all your family has. It's like, oh, it's garlic this winter, guy. Sorry. And like, you eat it, and all of a sudden you die. You're like, vampire.
I knew it.
what's so funny about the garlic thing to me, though, is they talk about the reason, that entering lore in the later stages of vampirism, but that because the smell would ward off evil spirits. But I'm thinking that's got to be better compared to daily life. I mean, nobody's bathing. You can't brush your teeth. I mean, there's so
Well, I
much
guess-
going on.
If you
And I'm
can't brush
like,
your teeth and
garlic?
you eat garlic,
Ooh.
yeah.
It's just, it always cracks me up because I'm like, that's the least
That's
I
the
would
thing?
think, smelliest thing.
Yeah,
that
I've
you're
always
dealing
wondered
with.
where that part of the lore came from. Like, why garlic?
Yeah, that's the only thing I ever
It's
found.
an
Was
odor
just the
thing,
smell.
and they used to wear it like around their necks or like hang it in their
Mhm. Hang on
windows.
the door. Yep.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know the origin. I'm sure someone out there could tell us.
I mean, I get like the silver and whatnot because like Judas and everything and blah blah blah, but like garlic makes no sense.
And I
As
wonder if that brings in some sort of
Maybe it's like
alchemy
a-
or witchcraft lore somewhere.
Some sort of
'cause-
herb for it has like a meaning.
Yeah.
Witchcraft, like, yeah. Well, I mean, garlic technically is good for your blood, isn't it? Like,
Yeah, I think so.
and like good for your heart.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you think
Maybe
they would be all about the garlic because it makes you have good blood? I don't know. Maybe we're just
Yeah,
all
it's
giant jars of
pumping.
ragu.
I mean, technically, they were just skin suits and stick bodies. But yeah, so you talk about like where some of these mythos come from and how they originate. So Elizabeth Bathory would allegedly bathe in the blood of young women to keep herself young. So there you kind of start your myth of blood equals youth.
And like
Which,
I
if you wanna
brought up
find
then, the vampire facial. It's all the rage.
Yep, Madame
Try-
Lalaurie,
Try
she's-
it out, everybody.
I I'm not that desperate.
Donate to your local blood facial place.
Your blood facial.
Yeah, so if you want to find out if Elizabeth Bathory actually bathed in blood, you should definitely check out our episode.
Did we ever decide if she was like, if it was an actual bathtub full of blood, or if it was like a mixture of like 1 part blood, 600 parts water?
Yeah, Lee did the math on that. So,
yep. And you'll have to watch to find out.
That's right.
But yeah, so then we kind of leave this completely just
question
depressed.
Before we leave the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
If you were able to go travel in time and got sent to the Middle Ages, what one thing would you bring with you?
Penicillin.
What about you, Jen?
I heard you totally wrong. I was like that I would bring back from the Middle Ages, and I was like, not
would
pestilence.
you take with you?
Well, penicillin, that's a good one. What would I bring to the Middle Ages? Yeah, they had nothing. I could bring anything.
No, anything, and you'd be a wizard.
I mean,
you're a wizard, Harry.
Well,
they
that's
would call
the
her
thing.
a witch and then try to drown her.
No,
It looks like a duck.
No, Lee would be good with the penicillin because he could just blend in with the, well, they didn't call them witches then. They actually liked them.
Alchemist.
I'd be like an alchemist.
Yeah, they would think you were the greatest thing. So you would win
Merlin.
that. I know.
And then you could invent sliced bread and then be like, I'm the greatest thing since this.
Look at this idea. I don't have to eat the whole loaf.
Oh,
That
wow.
is-
I would bring like a medical backpack with me for sure.
A whole kit.
Yeah, you could just bring like alcohol, just
Like-
like rubbing alcohol
Imagine-
back
yeah.
and salt and save like 1 million people in the first year.
You could just bring one of those little car first aid kits
Yeah.
and like save a
And then
kingdom.
go, yeah,
Like,
you're
here's a
yeah,
Band-Aid, sir.
Here's some Neosporin.
I mean,
mean,
there's
yeah,
a lot of
what
things
if I
you could bring
just-
back.
Brought back some like dial soap,
See? Oh man,
some crest.
Antibacterial.
some crest.
Again, you gotta be careful. Like, bubbles might freak them out.
You're right. See,
Bubbles
pretty
just coming out of the water. Just bloop, 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 bloop. They go,
Yeah, I think-
oh,
witch. She's a witch.
anything other than like Lee's medicine, I feel like I would be dead. Yeah,
you know what? They might
I wouldn't come back.
not kill you for like a lighter. It's like 50-50, depending on how you present it, I think.
That's true. My dumbass would
Yeah.
present it like I'm a wizard, and then they'd kill me for heresy.
Yeah, you'd have to
Yeah.
like,
The first, hey, watch this.
yeah, right.
Hey, hold
You'd
my mead.
Yeah.
they just clock him over the head. Just fully explained, like clearly he was a witch. Everyone
Oh.
saw it, right? Thank you.
You mean this tiny thing is a torch? Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, so you'd have to like explain it in a way that like almost
Yeah.
like they understand swords or shields, like a mass-produced, reproducible tool, not like a ooh, look, I can light your fire in your castle real quick without you knowing. Like,
Yeah, because you'd have to explain plastic to them.
yeah, that'd be interesting. Just again, that we're killing the human race, introducing microplastics thousands of years ago.
Already. Yeah, bad idea, guys.
We should not go back in time, clearly.
No.
We move into the more romanticized version of the vampire Dracula. So Bram Stoker was
Bram
responsible.
Stoker.
Bram
I was
Stoker.
gonna
Would that
Take
be
a
your
moment.
performing name?
That's my I was just gonna say that's my stage name. Shit. People are gonna start searching and find me now.
Cover blow.
Anyway, hey, if you want to pay me for
Is this your wiki feet link?
hey man, side hustles. All I got is side hustles. I don't even have a main hustle. They're all side hustles.
Not even
Josh-
a side quest, it's a side hustle.
Yep.
I'm so glad that you let me take a moment because I was over here. I gotta hold this laughter in.
It's one of those tricky things. I'm saying a lot of words. And, it's like it's Freudian. I'm thinking about my stage name and out it comes.
Whew.
If anybody wants to use that name, go ahead. That's a good name. I mean, if that's your thing, that's a good name.
Oh, vampire porn, great.
Yeah, right. People would love that. But his novel was written in 1897, which blows my mind because it's still a great fucking read.
Yeah, there's so many remakes, like so many movie remakes of this, just one story.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But he was more of your aristocratic, like seductive, but somewhat terrifying. But you didn't really know why you were scared of him at first, like especially in like the novel when he meets him for the first time. He doesn't even say like he's Dracula, like he's just meets him as like a dude on the road, and he's super cool and suave. Like I think that's what we love about like the Dracula.
Right. It's like if your like Australian or English cousin came to visit and everybody was just super hyped about the accent.
Yeah, and they're all proper and shit. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. He was just. I personally love that version, the Bram's version.
It makes it more of like a predator feel too, because like
it does.
It's like it's almost like a hunting aspect. You're just luring the prey in and being all suave, and just reminds me of a jaguar.
Well, even how he moves, like when he's in London and he's just like kind of walking through the streets and stuff. Like, yeah, he's just.
And this is where we see the mesmerizing effect, right? Is the part
the glamoring and the hypnotizing,
where people can't look
more
away,
sexualizing it. Yeah,
yeah, he was pretty fucking cool.
He was the guy. He had what the kids call Riz.
Yeah, definitely had that Riz. No skibbity toilet Ohio on this bitch. So that's where we really start to form this like sexy, predatory, like not just this menacing outsider that comes into town, like someone you want to be friends with. Like you're like, oh, like this guy seems super smart and attractive, and like everyone's around him, and like that alluring appeal to the vampire. But we also, I think, need to point out is that's when we also get like the opposite side of the vampire, and we really start to flesh out vampire hunters, like with Van Helsing, and you start to really see that like there's a kit, like there's a way, there's like a plan, there's mythos, there's a reason, and like you get to kind of see that written down for the first time, and I think it's less hearsay and more like these are what locked in vampire lore.
What I thought was too with his book that kind of started the way he did it so well was, because you think about if you were a vampire and you've been alive for hundreds of years, just the study of humans, how much knowledge you would have, and how you would be able to just be so suave, I mean,
but that's like that
quite a bit, over time, and you can just manipulate people. It's just really cool the way he brought that out, I thought.
Yeah, it's again, it's part of that like intricately learning what makes different people tick, and so it's also like it's really like psychological in a lot of ways.
You're just literally people watching for centuries.
Yeah, that's interesting. I always thought like, so is that a plus or a minus for you if you were turned into a vampire? Is immortality something you're like yes, or like this is gonna be a tough ride?
Oh fuck yeah, I would love to be immortal.
No.
Oh man.
I go back and forth.
Definitely not.
100%, because I don't know, the world's too big. I'm just one tiny person, and I'm one of those people that wants to know everything.
I think one of the hardest parts is if you can't turn the people that you love over and over, watching like generations of your loved ones die, and just being like, oh well, I'm just gonna reinvent myself again.
I was watching this YouTube video of this guy. He breaks down like cool like superhero and like random like nerd stuff, like very scientifically. And he was talking about immortality and vampires. Actually, he was saying that like if you were actually immortal, you would end up just going so like insane, because if you just kept living and making memories, your brain couldn't keep up with it, and then it would just pretty much just turn to mush.
Yeah, I'm sure
That's
there's some
interesting.
kind of banging your head against a wall scenario that would happen after a while.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, your brain would have to be like in a constant state of like repairing itself.
So I said we have the opposite side in the hunter. Later in 1922, you get a not so suave version of the vampire in Nosferatu. And
A crusty looking bat guy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I will tell you, I've never watched any other silent movie except Nosferatu.
Yeah.
I
and
haven't
it
even
is a fucking creep fest.
Mhm.
really.
It is.
Yes.
Yeah, because there's no sound. And Orlok, who is the vampire, is so skinny and awkward and pale, and like, you know, it's, you're reading stuff on the page while he's like standing there in this awkward position and his fingers are long, and like you're getting this time to look at the monster, I think, and realize how similar but different he is to like a human.
Yes.
Right, because he's more like bat-like in this one, and it's like features and stuff like that. He's more monster than man.
Yes,
It
and he
looks much more like the rotting corpse.
yeah. So he's the like real pale skin, narrow face, long fingers, all black. Really, really stalks in the shadows more than like a Dracula, who we said hunts and like wants to kind of play with his food before he eats it.
Well, yeah, it's easier for him to go out and walk around if he doesn't look like a fucking bat boy.
True. True. I mean,
Can you imagine how terrifying that was in 1922? I mean, there had to have been people fainting and just falling out. I mean,
leaving and throwing up in the movie theater, or
Yeah.
That probably set, because I said to this day, if I watch it, I know what's going to happen. I've read the whole movie, I've watched the whole movie, and you're still like, there's something about the silence too.
yes.
It's eerie. It's very eerie. That also is where we got our notorious vampires cannot come out in the daylight.
Oh, really?
So before that, vampires kind of walked among us, and we're like, yeah, so Dracula he can walk down the streets of London, and, you know, he's like covered up and stuff, but he's not melting.
Right.
Oh, yeah, I guess I didn't really...
Yeah, it's just not part of the lore, and it's that's the sign of a good book or a good movie, that like you didn't realize that like this key piece of what you think is this character didn't jump out at you.
Yeah.
They fleshed out a full character.
Assume that Dracula is like impervious to like everything, because like that's also the lore of Dracula. Like, he has every vampire power.
Yeah, he's way more superpower than most of the vampires we see in the time period. They get pretty weird. We get some
like
fucking,
so many different types of vampires.
some weird vampires. And really, that's really where we are. We're in like the 20th century, 21st century now, with vampires evolving again into like multiple things. So now they like have branched off into their own individual genres, and there's romance novels, and there's anti-heroes, and you have again just straight up horror vampires that are no humanity in them whatsoever. Key to that, and then the romantic side is Anne Rice. And most people know Anne Rice from Interview with the Vampire.
Such a good book and movie.
Yes.
That is one of my favorite movies. That's a slog that I'll sit down and watch a long ass movie for.
Have you watched the series?
No,
I haven't either.
they kept coming up. I didn't watch it.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about it. But Anne Rice introduced the brooding vampire that like laments living forever
and it's real bored with
um,
eternity.
yes, yeah, it takes no pride in having to kill human beings and be that predator in the shadows, which is what makes the book and the movie. I really know this version, the movie version, more than the book, but that opposite side that you don't think about, because again, you ask someone like, you want to live forever, the first instinct is like, yeah, sure, 100%. Like I would see everything, I would know everything, and then like, you know, you start to think about that, and you're like, oh well, there's time is actually fucking shitty now.
Yeah, you say and then all of a sudden Tom Cruise is all over you, and then you wake up completely different.
Right, and you're sucking rats in the alley. Who would have thought?
Who would have thought? But I also like how like Anne Rice brought more of like the Bram Stoker suaveness back of the vampire. Like kept it like aristocratic and like more, but also had like the savageness of like actually the vampire is a monster still too, because it's dealing with like its own like, I'm really upset about living forever and I am a monster because I keep killing all these people type thing.
So it introduced like that humanity side,
some morality
like,
to
you're
it.
holding on to still what you were before you got turned. And also I think what you just touched on a little bit, Josh, is more like she kind of fleshed out a vampire society. So like there's a hierarchy and there's, you know, archetypes to like what you are as a vampire, and like she expands on the fact that like if you're going to be turning people, like they're not just going to stay with you forever, like they're going to go create their own vampires. And like, you know, they have a like in Interview with the Vampire especially, like you get that they meet Antonio Banderas. It's like a whole different feel than Brad Pitt and Tom Cruise. Like, so they prey on us, but like they also kind of have a life when they're not preying on us. Like they're not just bloodthirsty monsters that want to eat us at all times.
Work-life balance.
There you go. So important. So important. And the balanced diet.
Yeah.
True. But then it's interesting because like you do see like with Interview with a Vampire, it's sort of also bringing out that like vampires are starting wanting to like come out of the shadows and be in like society. So like you see it also in True Blood too, where they come out of the coffin, they say.
yeah, True Blood is like that. Like they are really even more than Interview with the Vampire, like amongst you. Like, Sookie's serving them at the diner. And they have like blood. What was it? It was called True Blood, the blood that they drank, right?
Yeah, the fake synthetic blood.
True Blood was, I think, the most modern version of like the I would be a vampire.
Right, like it had like a good combo of like everything that you think what a vampire would be.
They got like blown up when they died.
Loaded.
Yeah. Like I feel like that starts the whole like there would be a real advantage amongst humans in society kind of thing. Like, you know, Lestat and everything, they were kind of above it. They didn't they mingled where they could, but like were clearly separate. In True Blood,
the fringes,
it's True Blood. They're really just like newscasters, and you know, it's commercials for blood on the TV.
Yeah, they work at gas stations and stuff.
Yeah, it's a very and it's interesting because in True Blood you start to get the themes of like inclusion and bigotry. So you know,
prejudice and everything like that.
You're trying to introduce a new species and integrate them into humanity, and you know, they have this horrible thing is that like they eat us. But they're trying to be
we're
like
not on the top of the food chain. They are actually.
So they're trying to be more like diplomatic. Like, look, we have synthetic blood. We don't do this.
Ah.
We have our own rules and laws, and if you do this, like the vampire council will come after you.
Mhm.
But the notes of like you said, like prejudice and the fight to be included regardless of like your differences, just because like you're here and I'm here, like why are we not just
Mhm.
coexisting instead of fighting each other?
Right.
Though that's really the theme I feel like through True Blood, other than vampire.
Yeah.
Um,
So we're touching back on they explode when they get staked and freeze. Which would you prefer? Because like in most of the lore, they get staked and they like just turn to ash or like catch
Yeah.
on fire. Like, which one would you rather, exploding or traditional ash and fire?
I mean, go out with a bang.
yeah, for me personally, I don't care.
I mean, that's
sure,
true.
I'll blow up, fine. If I'm like in a society with vampires and like my friend blows up and now I have to clean up my friend, I'm not happy.
That's
Nah.
true.
So like it's way easier to just get a dustpan and go
Just
Yeah.
get your
and
Yeah,
like
you can.
the gloves wiping everything off the walls and shit, and
That's true.
That would suck.
luminol nightmare.
But this is what familiars are for. If we didn't learn anything from what we do in the shadows,
Yeah. Yep. That's
a good show too.
a great show. That's
It's like
that
really satirical.
yeah, we'll jump and come back. That is where like vampires get super mundane and like funny about it. Like it's almost like a workplace comedy, where like they're more worried about like every day like vacuuming and taking care of like dumb stuff
What I
in
do
the
with
house.
these bodies.
Yeah, like and
Oh, that sounds cool.
yeah, it's very funny.
It's on Hulu.
What's-
It's a really funny
Okay.
show.
It's very funny. And they
That's
have an energy vampire. So Colin Richardson. Robinson. Yeah. So
He's just the most boring person ever.
Yes,
And he just
I love
drains
him.
your energy by just really
Oh.
just giving it to you.
And like
that's how it feeds.
yeah, they write him so well that most of the time it's like a couple seconds or like a minute into like his like boringness that you realize like, oh, he's feeding right now. Like nothing he's saying is like important. He's just droning so this person stands here.
It's a very Dilbert character.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I love it. It's really good. Oh, another vampire thing that's kind of on the funny end. I just watched Day Shift with Jamie Foxx on Netflix. So Jamie Foxx and the Franco kid, not James.
Not James, but his brother.
Yeah. And it's like Evil Dead ish.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like over the top, like gore. Again, like things are blowing up and
So I'm out.
yeah, like you shoot them and like they fly back. Like, but it's pretty funny. Like it does a good job. It's like Buddy Cop meets Evil Dead.
Okay.
It's funny. It's a good quick. It's a movie. It's a Netflix movie. You can watch it quick.
Is it like kind of like, because I am able to watch this. I've watched this several times. Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, it's very much like that. Like it's not like gory. It's just like campy gory. Like,
Oh, okay, I might could do that.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not
not
like
like- or like The Boys or anything like that. Like
right.
Yeah.
People exploding.
Yeah.
Just really
Mhm.
getting. Yeah.
like I've seen it all. And
I've seen it.
if you don't like gore, I'm going to explain a scene that's really kind of gross. Sorry, Jen.
I can hear
There's
about
this-
it. I just can't see it.
Yeah, there's a scene when there's a person that's getting or losing superpowers, and he's going through the floor in hospitals because he's like going from transparent to physical, but he's doing that like in people.
Ooh.
So like he goes down the floor, lands in somebody in a bed, and then like their intestines are just dripping around his legs, and then he falls
Yeah.
again. Yeah, it's so gross and over the top traumatizing for no reason. But we got to backtrack.
Yep. We gotta
Because-
go back to
There's a
Blood.
pivotal movie and book series that introduced new lore that most vampire fans don't like.
I don't care what you say. My vampires do not sparkle.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't know where they got this diamond skin bullshit from.
Thank you so much.
Maybe they have diamond skin to reflect the sunlight, and then it just makes them look oh so sexy and like mer people. But it's still fucking stupid.
No, it's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. Like,
well, it's made millions.
Yeah, let's turn like the Lord of Darkness into like a disco ball real quick. Like
pretty fucking much.
They don't only like do that, but they totally, I think, downplay, like we were saying, like the sophistication of the vampire and like just how superior they are to us. Like, imagine being an immortal creature that now can walk in the daylight. You just sparkle a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Super fast, super strong, blah 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 blah. But you voluntarily choose to repeat high school forever.
That would suck so bad.
Who would do
it would
that?
Also suck.
Like what?
Yeah, it would also suck if you got turned into a vampire as a child, and then you had to be a child for eternity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. Yeah, there are a whole lot of disadvantages to that. Like, you know, you just never get to experience the adult world, which is pretty shitty.
Dude, I'm like,
but you would, I guess. Like, I've seen vampire movies and stuff where like you're looking at like a 12-year-old, but you know that like that person's like 400.
And I guess you could like hypnotize them and stuff like that, but
yeah, I mean, it depends on how much you're trying to get integrate. Ugh.
Integrate? No.
Yes, there you go.
Yes,
there you go. Oh, just loading. Yes. So
that's Twilight, right?
Yeah.
Twilight
introduced.
I have to ask because I've never seen 5 minutes of any of them, of the movies. Never.
I've read the books and seen the movies.
Oh man.
Okay.
I've only made it to the third movie and then I just give up.
For whatever reason, my wife was obsessed with the books.
Oh.
And like
everybody's wife's were.
My wife will read, like she reads, but like it's very rare that like she's finishing books in a couple days.
Oh, so a page turner.
Like that's how I read Stephen King. Like I'll sit down and like, you know, 2 or 3 weeks on a big one and like a week or two and a shorter one and like the book's done.
Yeah, that one
she finished those books.
To me.
Yeah, she finished those books and I was like, what? I was like, what is so special about this book that you're reading? So I read it. Not only is like the vampirism in the books bad, she's a terrible writer.
She's just a terrible.
Like she is not like
straight up calling her.
But you kept reading them. Help me understand.
No, you just because it's so bad that you want to see where this train wreck goes.
I needed to know the story to like understand why like my wife and like. So I also have this thing. I do it with even like we've talked about on the show. Like I like to do it with even religions. Like if I'm going to talk bad about it and like judge it, like I want to be able to form that opinion. So, so I read the books and obviously the movies came out. I watched the movies. She does like there's no real end really to the books. Like there's no like.
I mean, she like leaving it open.
Yeah, personally for me, like a lot of stuff that happens in those I think 4 books does not get wrapped up.
Just a lot of
like whole character like arcs just get dropped. Like there's a character like Jasper, and like in the book, he I think has one of the coolest fucking like entries into the book. They do like a flashback to him in like Civil War time or Revolutionary War time. I forgot what it is, but like he's like mowing people down on horseback and like he's, you know, a vampire doing cool shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's a couple pages, never talk about it again. Like I think for someone that likes vampires, the problem with like her writing is that she writes in places for so much potential and cool shit to happen, and like the fight scene's like 4 seconds, and it's like, you just spent like 2 movies telling me that like these things can like lift cars, run super fast, like have heat vision, or like will rip you in half, and these werewolves like morph in front of you and like are fierce, and the battle's over in like 3 seconds. Like, and they have
hissing back and forth, and then
really
2 seconds of
is
fighting.
It really is just so bad. Like Edward Cullen is anti-vampire, like even more than like the Anne Rice vampire, to the point where like it's a thing. Like they call themselves like vegetarians, and like he's so brooding and hates being a vampire. Like he doesn't even want to use any of his vampire shit. Like, and like he like touches Bella and like will be like too rough or something. Oh, I'm sorry. I just don't know my own strength. It's so fucking brooding and
I don't
annoying.
know how y'all. Yeah. Okay.
It's so bad. So bad.
My instincts were good on that one. Okay.
Yes. I'm done dogging Twilight. I'm done.
Can you imagine the hate that's gonna happen? Oh gosh.
Bring it.
Especially that I haven't even seen it.
Yeah, it's I would like the Twilight people come after me, bro. Like, I would love to have an argument about that.
I would love to see Blade go against any of the Twilight people.
Yes. Blade is one of my favorite vampire takes. The half vampire hunter.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is good.
The original Daywalker.
Yeah. I did really like the Wesley Snipes movies. Those were the shit.
I like 1, 2. Once Ryan Reynolds was in it, I didn't like him that much anymore.
I liked that one. I think that was like my introduction to Ryan Reynolds. It's either that or Van Wilder.
Van Wilder was it for me, and Waiting.
Waiting
was a good movie. So if you don't know what Blade is a comic book that adapted the vampire to be a hybrid vampire that's mother. So Blade's mom got attacked by a vampire while he was in the womb. So he's born half vampire. So he's got that special like no transition thing. Like it's him, it's how he's made. Like it's his actual genetic makeup is half vampire, half human. So he can walk in the daylight, but he can, grow fangs and run around the room super fast and all that shit too, and live forever.
Yeah, and he still has to feed on blood, but they come up with like this little serum thing for him.
Yep.
And half the time it just gets taken from him, and he goes into vampire rage mode anyway.
He's what you call like the get her done anti-vampire.
A very vampire anti-hero.
Like we talked about Brad Pitt and like moping, and Edward Cullen and Robert Pattinson moping. But Wesley Snipes was the I don't like vampires. I'm going to show you.
Right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Now I want to watch that again.
Those were
plus blood raves.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That's like one of the most iconic scenes ever. All right, so jump off of Wesley Snipes and Vampire Hunters. I also wanted to pull in a vampire movie that was like super cool to me when I was a kid, that made vampires seem like everyone should be a vampire.
It's a Vampire in Brooklyn with Eddie Murphy.
No. That would be fucking. If I said that shit, that would be great though. I'd be like, yeah.
I would lose my mind. Actually, you're right.
The Lost Boys.
That was such a good one too.
So the Lost Boys.
Ashamed that I've not seen it. I know that's terrible. I really don't know why. I know. I don't know why I've not seen that one. I should.
Classic. I mean, soundtrack.
You don't even need the rest of the movie. You just need that one part where that dude is just getting real saxy with it.
Yeah, the whole movie, like, I know it's just I'm an '80s baby, so like it's got it checks all the boxes, the vibe, that's like the arcades,
dangly earrings, jean jackets, and perms as far as the eye could see.
Pop collars, ripped t-shirt, whole thing.
That's got his Corey Haim in that.
Yeah. He's like the young one. Everyone's in that movie. I'm so bad at names, but there's a lot of people in that movie.
I got some homework. I do need to watch that. That's actually I have meant to for years. It blows my husband's mind. He's like that, and I haven't seen the Goonies.
Ooh, Goonies you gotta see. I'm gonna throw one on your list that's super like cult campy. The Monster Squad.
Ooh, that's a good one too.
So
Wait.
the Monster Squad is like the Goonies meets like these monsters that we're talking about. So like Bearman, Dracula, the Mummy, Frankenstein, and it's a bunch of kids. So it's another like 80s classic.
Yeah, I've not even heard of that one.
Yeah, that's like super. That's a deep pull.
Okay.
Not everyone knows about that. Yeah, I mentioned Day Shift. That was good. I wanted to throw in because I did a lot of random vampire movie watches. I was like, oh, this says vampire. Let me watch it. A lot of it's crap. But Day Shift was good.
Crap.
And like that really like brings us to today, and we're in this era of the vampire is what you want it to be. Like there's a vampire for everyone. You either have the romantic, suave vampire that you want to love. You have the vampire you want to be. You have the vampire that's the enemy to everybody. You have the anti-hero vampire. There's comedic vampires. Like, I just thought of this. I didn't even think about it. Like, Nicolas Cage has a vampire
Renfield.
movie. Yeah, and isn't that supposed to be kind of funny?
I haven't finished it.
Yeah, like, so...
It's my
Vampires
turn.
are-
I actually watched that one.
You did? Was it funny?
Yeah. Yes,
Yeah.
I thought so.
Yeah,
You think-
it's pretty good. But I got busy and I never picked it back up. But yeah, I like what I saw.
So yeah, that's...
Oh, what about did anybody ever watch Blackula?
Yes, that's
one of my
another
favorites.
classic. That's another
That is one of my
classic.
favorites.
Mhm.
Yeah. Actually, I wrote down some of like my favorite vampire movies. Blade's on here. I didn't want to finish this episode without talking about Salem's Lot.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
So
Oh,
Salem's
God.
Lot is technically a vampire book.
I'd forgotten that.
Yeah.
It's been so long.
But Salem Lot also a good book. Good movie? Not so
Yeah, I
much,
only
but
read the book.
I hardly recommend a King movie.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
ones
they're not
I've
really that
seen.
great.
No.
Yeah.
So to his credit and his detriment, King as an author is very liberal with his material.
Mhm.
So like for a lot of times he'll like let young writers like just give him like $1 or like a small fee to like adapt something he's written.
Mm.
Oh,
So he
That
doesn't
explains a
really
lot.
he doesn't like what is the
so
word,
very
like gatekeep.
hands-on with it. Yeah.
Like he's
Yeah.
like, if you're gonna like if it's gonna be your adaptation, like, put adapted from a Stephen King novel in the beginning of it and I'm walking away.
Right.
So like he hates The Shining, like he can't stand The Shining, Kubrick's The Shining.
It's such a good movie though.
But it's not like the
No.
book.
No.
Yeah.
It's a great
Completely
movie
different.
still. Yeah, but again, so he's like, I don't like what he did to my characters. That's all. King will come up again when we talk about these monsters, of course, because he's got a wereman. I know that.
Yeah.
Well, it's because like it's hard to not like draw other character. Like if you were like a writer or something like that, it's not hard to like draw inspiration from these classic iconic monsters and shift their story around and make it kind of like your own.
And I think that's why we're getting so many versions, because like now we've assembled like this sand pit of pieces that you can pluck pieces and create this vampire, and there you go, and take it or leave it.
It's kind of interesting because it shows the tapestry of sort of what folklore is and how it gets started, why it has staying power, and it just keeps getting added to, no matter what the topic or the subject is. I mean, we're starting off, even pre-Middle Ages, but just to make it easy, start the Middle Ages, you're talking about Slavic lore, which is very complex. It's it is there's so many moving pieces to that, and I just find those people are so fascinating. I mean, I think they even did a staking back in like 2004 that made the news.
Oh damn!
Of a suspected vampire.
Ooh.
Yes, and so, but I just that's I mean, I've visited normal Western Europe, but Eastern Europe is where I would next love to go
I'd love
because
to go to Transylvania.
Oh yeah, they're so steeped still in
Mhm.
their past, and I love that. About them. They're proud of it. It's really cool. But I just find it's so funny because you just see how, like, now I have to pay attention when I say his name, Bram Stoker.
Shout out the wrong person.
Just the power of his novel, how much it influenced then all these other novelists 100 years and so later, and then how they weave in what pop culture is at the time or what our society is like at the moment. And it's just you get that hodgepodge, and it's just kind of cool. Some of it works. Twilight, no, I made a good call, it sounds like, on that
Twilight,
one, but
Twilight picked the wrong pieces.
But some of it does, and it's just it's neat, I think.
I really do. I do really enjoy like new takes, and I do love being able to watch a movie, enjoy a movie, and then look back and be like, oh, you know what? Like, I really see where like this person got this from this original material, or I know they got it from this original material, but I really like what they did with it.
Yeah,
right. Took their interpretation on it, and like, but still sort of kept it true to like the lore.
Yes, those are always going to be my favorites, or it's always going to be the aristocrat in the castle. For me, that's just always going to be my favorite.
It's so appealing, like it's so attractive, and I think, just like you said, throughout history, like, those kind of people were the people everyone looked up to, no matter what time it is. Now we talk about the Kardashians, and there's just fans for Taylor Swift all over the globe, and like, if you can hold that status, like, there's something alluring about you. And then you add in like that dark undertone of like actual power, like physical power. I think it makes it like super attractive to human beings that honestly, we have to all be honest, like, most of us, power is somewhat important to us in our lives, whether it just be the power to be an individual and express yourself, or like the more maligned power where people are trying to control other people.
Yeah.
Who's your favorite? Like, so like Bela Lugosi will always for me be Dracula, always.
Oh, okay.
Oh man, I liked I really
especially
did
he's from Eastern Europe, so it helped his accent.
I liked Gary Oldman as Dracula in the movie Bram Stoker's Dracula, but I liked Kate Beckinsale in Underworld.
Yes, we didn't even talk about Underworld. That's one of my favorite movies, but my wife hates that I love it so much.
I love it so much, and I'm talking about it a lot in my.
I love that movie. Yes, perfect. I think for me, actually, I think it would have to be Brad Pitt. I think that's where I got my man crush on Brad Pitt from. Like, his whole like aesthetic. So like, I grew up a kid with no hair. Like, I had like shaved head all the time. So even like Antonio Banderas in that movie, like, just that look, to be able to like put your hair back and like wear a suit and like a cane and be like,
must be
slick.
Fucking nice.
Yeah.
But then also like that the wilder look too, like, really worked for like Brad Pitt, like that when he like just had the white shirt and he was open and his hair was everywhere.
I also liked, I don't remember the guy's name, the actor's name, but he played Lestat in Queen of the Damned.
Is he the blonde guy? Is he blonde?
Yeah, he's the main vampire.
Yeah, I think
in that show, in that movie.
I'm trying to picture him in my head.
Yeah, he was a good vampire.
Yeah,
but that was a good movie too.
That was a good movie. Queen of the Damned was a good movie, which is technically also a vampire movie.
Yeah,
all these movies slip in. We're so saturated with vampire content that almost, if it's like not in the title, well, I guess not a vampire movie.
Yeah,
right. hearing your explanation of your favorite, it makes me wonder, like, what is wrong with me that even, like, when I was young, I was like, ooh, Bela Lugosi.
It is very weird what imprints on you as a child that you recognize as like things you eternalized and like either made sexual or like habits in your life. Like we joke all the time because like one of my wife's first loves or like, you know, crushes was Robin Hood, but the fox.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm like, I think that's funny. I'm like, we all have that weird, like when like Babs Bunny was like in
Space Jam.
Space Jams,
Yeah.
like boys are kind of just like, why am I? It's a rabbit. Like I don't,
Yeah.
I shouldn't. What?
Yeah.
So yeah, it is interesting that like.
Oh, that's my family. They're like, we're like, we don't really know if we believe in past lives or whatever, but we're convinced that you must have lived clearly, at least in Victorian.
Also, the accent helps.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like he's bad looking. It's not like.
Oh yeah, no, I wasn't. No. Oh, let me clear something up right now. No, I did
No,
not.
I didn't mean.
Oh,
I meant,
okay.
but even just like as a character, like to like him, like he's not like there's nothing straight off the bat that you're like, why would anyone like this person?
Yeah.
You know, he's just very straightforward.
He's no
I- he
Steve
just-
Buscemi.
Yeah. To me, he just like he is, you know,
Vampire.
Dracula. Yeah, Dracula, like he would say. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
On the flip end of that, there is a movie I watched recently that does an amazing job of the more Nosferatu type straight up monster vampire. It's actually very much like Nosferatu. The Voyage of the Last Demeter is a dope movie, like so underrated. No one even talked about this movie, and the vampire in this movie is like bat more than person.
Oh,
And,
that's
like-
how Midnight Mass was on Netflix.
Yeah, very reminiscent of Midnight Mass. Yeah, like so, like there's a scene and like he jumps on a person and he's holding him down, and they do such a good job of like the hand on his face, and like you just see like you wouldn't be able to fight. It's like they do such a good job of being like you're completely helpless just by showing you
no
this
power.
thing's hand on his face, the size and the strength it displayed. You're like, yeah, this thing's fucking a beast. And it's one of those quick dark movies where like, you know, there's no bullshit. They're not like, I'm gonna love this girl when this is all over. We're gonna get out of this together and we're gonna go forward and be a great couple. No, it's like this thing's on this boat. There's only so many people on this boat. What are we gonna do?
Oh, technically, wouldn't that the vampire be the vampire that's on that boat be Dracula? Because the Demeter was the ship that brought Dracula from.
Yeah.
where he
They
was
don't.
for
oh
England.
yeah,
They don't
missed
give
that.
it. Yeah, they don't give it Dracula. They
Right,
kinda
but if you knew
are
the
giving it
lore-
like this is the pre-Dracula, like this is how his story started. This is where the
Yeah.
boat came from. And,
Yeah.
yeah, so they're everywhere. Everyone's got their favorites. Everyone's got their least favorites. I don't know if Twilight's my least favorite. It's definitely fucking down there.
100% my least favorite.
I'll say it is for right now. I just want to keep the door open in case something I remember that was worse comes up. We didn't talk about Buffy at all. You know how Buffy
or 30 Days a Night.
Ooh, 30 Days of Night.
Because that's more like animalistic, not
That
like,
is probably my favorite vampire movie.
Yeah, that is a good one because it's just more savage, but they're very animal like.
The scene when he leans over in her face and he's like, "No God."
Yeah,
Like she's screaming, "God, God, oh God!" How he's just like so stone faced. No
Ew.
God.
yeah.
No. That movie again is one of those. It's very much like the Voyage of the Demeter. Like it starts, they're in this place. There's only so many people in this place, and you have like roaming vampires running through, and they can move at all hours because it's in Alaska. So it's during
like
their
30
period of 30 days of night.
Yeah, no. Mm-mm.
It's
Everybody
a really
dies.
good movie.
I think I would just die of fright. They wouldn't even make it to me.
Yeah, that's definitely
That's
up
a good
there as one of my favorite vampire
It's like my
movies. I can't
zombies.
believe-
They shouldn't be able to run. I can't handle
zombies shouldn't run.
if they can run.
No, I don't like that either. But trying to think of what movie it was. Where zombies like learn to do things. Excuse me.
Oh yeah,
That
annoys me.
not Zombieland. No, they just run in Zombieland.
Tell
There was
me
one
about
movie
it.
where they would start to like evolve and like they were like if it had a gun, you were like in trouble as a zombie had a gun. It was like this doesn't.
Yeah, I
make
got
any
tricked into Zombie Land. Yeah.
sense. Is zombies your thing? Is that your monster?
No. Nope. They're not. But I get tricked into watching a lot of things with them by my husband.
So if your husband
like
likes zombie
Zombieland,
stuff,
though.
Zombieland was funny. Zombieland's great. Like that's
And that
fun.
had
Is
a
there a new
2.
28
Yeah,
days or weeks later movie coming
28
out?
days. Now they're doing 28 not years.
28 years later.
Yeah, and it actually is I think 28 years from the
Yeah.
first one maybe.
And
But
do you
if your
remember
husband-
like oh sorry, go ahead.
If your husband likes vampire movies, shit.
Or you mean zombie?
Black Summer on Netflix. There's a movie associated with it. It's not the movie, the show. It's like a mini series. I think it's some of the best zombie stuff. I think they do run, but the way they build tension in that show
Oh,
is
that's
one
the
of the-
worst.
is the best. It's so good. See, I love that.
Suspense.
That's what I want. I want like
This is a recent one. Are those vampires?
ooh, I don't know. I don't think I saw
I
that.
don't think I've ever heard that of that.
Well, okay. So I've been watching that in chunks on TikTok, and because they have to blur out anything like really bad, so I've been able to like watch it over like I don't know 6 months now. But it's a show that's on right now. I don't know what, but I figured you guys would have watched that. But I think they're vampires.
They look like they might be.
Yeah, they're
not
really
looked into it.
creepy, and they just show up and people die, and yeah, it's pretty gross.
sure
They
that-
die very disgustingly.
What was it on?
See, I don't know. I don't want to know. I'm watching it
It's on
in 10
TikTok.
minutes. I'm watching
That's how
it
you
in
watch
10
that
minute
TikTok,
sections on TikTok.
It's gonna take a long time. I
Yeah,
think I
I'm
just saw like
I'm
22
already
episodes or
6
something like
months.
that.
Yeah, I'm 6 months in on that project.
It's a long haul.
Mm.
Yeah, so the vampire. We can put this one to bed.
Put it to the coffin.
Yeah, I was gonna say something cheesier than that.
There you
Put a
Yeah.
stake in it. It's done.
Ooh, nice. I love a good dad pun.
Oh man, I'm here for it. Shameless dad jokes.
So I think not that the vampire is my favorite, like classic monster, but like he does in a lot of film or literature, he kind of takes that leader role as like if there was a gang of like monsters, like Dracula's in charge. So if you have a werewolf, a mummy, swamp thing,
Oh, yeah. He
like,
would
you know,
organize the chaos. for
Exactly,
sure. I
exactly.
mean, clearly, yeah.
So he's got that like hierarchy amongst
Yeah.
the creepy monsters. So that's why we'll do him first. He deserves it. I don't want him coming after me.
Wear some garlic. Be okay.
No. If someone has been attacked by a vampire, can you please like write into the show?
SSOS
Oh, yeah.
gmail.com.
Be careful
Or-
what you wish
about it.
for.
or this is opening a door. If you live the vampire life,
Ooh.
Hmm.
right into the show, because I also think that's kind of fascinating that there's a whole subculture of humans that decide to role play as vampires more than just like at Comic-Con.
Suggest a topic
Yeah,
or have a
it's like
story you want
everyday
us to
life.
share.
I'd love to hear about that.
I
We'd
would
love to
too.
hear from you. Email us at SSOSpodcast@gmail.com
Yeah, like I said,
for more behind-the-scenes
Coffin, bag,
updates and exclusive
steak,
insights about
garlic.
SSOS.
we killed
Make
it.
sure to follow us on
did.
social
Blew it up.
media. And don't miss
slew
out on the
vampire.
fun. Be sure to subscribe to our
Guys,
YouTube channel.
Thanks for the support.
Again,
Subscribe,
thank you for
like,
listening
share,
to the Secret
social
Society of
medias,
Strangers
do the
podcast.
things.
This show
Really
is an
appreciate it.
independent
We have a
production,
lot of fun doing this stuff.
researched and crafted by our passionate team. But we couldn't do it without all of you. We truly appreciate your support. Embrace the unknown, for not all secrets are meant to be kept. Farewell, strangers.